Golf rebel Ian Poulter has had quite the year after it was announced the player would be banned from competing in the Scottish Open. And while Poulter managed to win that battle, you'll be surprised to know that the win was followed by an even greater loss. Keep watching till the end for all of this and more. First up, an unexpected turn of events. Ian Poulter is a force to be reckoned with in the world of golf, but recently, things just don't seem to be going in his favor. Nicknamed the Rebel for his outspoken ways and tough game, Poulter was met with incredible humiliation at his first game at the Scottish Open, where the 46-year-old Englishman went through a terrible first round, shooting an 8 over par 78. Poulter finished 151st, in contrast to his opponent Cameron Triangle, who now leads the scoreboard 9 under par first round. The game was quite a nightmare for Poulter, who hit 0 out of 18 greens during the first round, and that pretty much set the tone for the rest of the match. To add to all the misery, the player had allegedly already been facing an extremely hostile environment from his fellow golfers, with his decision to risk his career and defect to the Saudi-backed Live Golf Series that's always been the subject of a lot of controversies. Next, why did Poulter even bother? After his terrible defeat, Poulter had to put up with critics left, right, and center who were absolutely ruthless about his performance along with his decision to take part in Live Golf. According to James Corrigan, the golf correspondent for The Telegraph, after such a humiliating loss, Ian Poulter should be wondering why he even bothered to take his circuit to court. According to Corrigan, the golfer may have taken part in a huge legal battle to be able to take part in the Scottish Open, but after such a poor game from his side, you have to wonder whether the trouble was really worth it. This sparked plenty of rumors about the DP chief Keith Pelly being pretty happy at Poulter's humiliating defeat, especially after the player had gone above and beyond to drag the PGA Tours through the dirt, followed by Poulter clearing things up. In the wake of all this, Poulter himself has stepped up and claimed that there is no bad blood between him and his colleagues. "I haven't felt any issues at all," said the golfer, while also staying quiet about any speculation regarding other players' opinions of his affiliation with Live Golf. However, he did give hints about his dynamic with Thomas Bjorn, who obviously doesn't seem to agree with his decisions. However, Poulter made it clear that despite their differences in opinion, the two have not had a falling out and still remain extremely professional and friendly with one another. Moving on to Ian Poulter being banned from the Scottish Open. Next up, let's talk about exactly what led to this ban that we've been talking about. The world of golf hasn't seen a force quite like Ian Poulter in a long time, so the world was taken by storm when the 12-time European Tour winner, along with fellow golfers Adrian Otegui and Justin Harding, were banned from the Scottish Open. The reason behind the ban was the fact that the player had joined the Live Invitational Golf Series, funded by Saudi Arabia, a country that is always in the headlines for its many human rights abuses. Poulter's decision to become part of the series led to a number of sanctions, with the toughest one being the player being kicked out of the Scottish Open. He, along with all DP World Tour players who joined Live, were banned, not just from the Open, but also from the Barbasol and Barracuda Championships, along with being given fines of £100,000, and those were just part of their heavy sanctions. The repercussions even extended to DP World Tour honorary life member Patrick Reed, who ended up being removed from the field right in front of the audience. It was rumored that the DP World Tour was also going to be banning the players from the Ryder Cup, even before they were allowed to reach the qualification rounds, and this obviously meant that the future of all these players was pretty much stuck in limbo. Next up, PGA makes a statement. Following this chaos, Live players were also suspended and deemed ineligible to compete and take part in any PGA Tours, with the PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan going on the record and saying that the players had to choose one or the other. According to Monahan, he had no qualms about the decision that he was making, since the golfers associated with Live and PGA was in no way obligated to keep giving them the same opportunities while their loyalties lie elsewhere. Monahan ended his statement by saying that the players who had resigned from the PGA to join Live would have their names removed from any tour standings, along with the FedEx and President's Cup, showing just how serious the whole situation was, followed by Live players fighting back. After all of that, let's talk retaliation. Of course, when things started to go south, Poulter stepped ahead and announced that he was going to be appealing against the ruling alongside Otegui, Harding, and 16 other players who wanted to challenge their DP World Tour bans. This ensued in a major legal battle between the two parties. As far as Poulter goes, he made it very clear that he was disappointed and offended to have been suspended from playing on a tour that he had been part of for over 25 years now. The golfer claimed that his affiliation with Live was independent of his participation in the DP World Tour and should be treated as such. The golfer also made sure to talk about his commitment to the European Tour card and his intention to continue his legacy with DP. Poulter also went on to say that he never knew the consequences of playing for LIV would be so harsh, since there was no clear-cut policy that talked about any sanctions regarding the whole situation. So, it's safe to say that he and his fellow LIV players were quite taken aback by the whole thing. Poulter, along with his fellow Ryder Cup player Westwood, defended their actions by saying that they are both independent contractors who have the right to play tournaments all over the world. According to Westwood, "I have played the last 29 years wherever I've wanted to, and according to the golfer, that isn't going to be changing anytime soon." Even Harding went on the record to speak about how shocked he was to find out that the European Tour was going to stop them from playing future games. The player claimed that he had been a long-term supporter of the PGA, and for him to not be given the space to do that was awkward and uncomfortable for everyone involved. Moving on to LIV Rebels winning the case. And now for the legal battle itself. After all the drama, everyone was quite surprised to see the outcome, where Poulter was among some of the LIV players who won the case against the DP World Tour and were granted permission to play at the Scottish Open, as per the original schedule. The DP itself released a statement confirming the fact that the sanctions against the LIV Rebels were temporarily lifted, and Poulter, Otegi, and Harding were going to be allowed to participate in the Open that took place at the Renaissance Club in Edinburgh. What's more is that Poulter and his fellow LIV players will be able to play in all European Tour events until the court's decision is overturned once again. But that's going to take quite a few months even if it does happen. In the light of all this, Poulter has announced that he will be taking part in the Czech Masters in August along with the PGA Championship at Wentworth, despite being a part of the LIV. As far as the CEO of the PGA goes, Keith Pelley has openly expressed how disappointed he is by the court's decision. He believes that the sanctions placed on the players that are now being referred to as the LIV Rebels were more than appropriate, and that the European Tour will be going through an appeal process because they want to stick by their decisions, no matter what. So, something tells us that this legal battle is only getting started. Lastly, the backlash continues. Moving on to the future, despite all that has unfolded, the LIV Rebels continue to receive public backlash because of their decisions, and since Poulter's performance at the Scottish Open, the situation has only amplified. According to American golf player Billy Horschel, the LIV Rebels are hypocrites and liars right after Harding had gone on the record to speak about how awkward it was for him and his fellow LIV players to be taking their home circuit to court. Not just Horschel, but players like Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, and even Tiger Woods have stepped up to talk about Poulter and all the other LIV Rebels and their decision to defect. A lot of the players believe that while the court has overruled their punishments, the LIV players should not be allowed to play on both tours. This started a massive conversation about how the LIV Rebels were essentially just going to come over to the DP World Tour for all the big events without participating in the smaller ones. And technically, that's not them being supportive of the tour, as they have been claiming all along. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.